Back guys to another video. As you guys can see, my background is not the black screen anymore. I'm already working with a limited space, so it's very hard to keep putting that up and then putting it down. So I just let's just keep it empty. I hope you guys like it. It's just my room basically. It's not much. But my One Piece collection's right up there, and then I have my cards here, right there, and then more cards there and more cards up there. There's some more cards down below, but I can't show that. Anyway, but basically we're not going to be talking about cards today. We are talking about One Piece. 3 chapters of One Piece is out. And unfortunately I only got to read 1183 yesterday. 1183 is out, but we are not going to be discussing 1183 because there are developments in 1183 that are happening that I do not want to discuss until I know a little bit more about. So we're going to wait till 1184 and then we're going to discuss it. I think it's going to come out this weekend, so I don't think we're going to have to wait that long. It's going to come out, the video is going to come out probably Saturday, Sunday, one of those 2 days. Whenever 1184 comes out, I'll try to make a video as soon as possible. But 1183 is going to be left out of this discussion. We're primarily talking about 1181 and 1182, both of which are really interesting chapters. Like, there is a lot going on over here. So we'll start with 1181, where basically the most of this chapter is just Emu fighting with Loki, and giving some crucial reveals, I would say. So we start with Emu and Loki already locked in combat, and Loki is basically remembering the time his father passed away, and he blames obviously Emu for that. He's like, you seem to be the person who did that, and I kind of hate you for that. And Emu has a narcissistic view of it, where he's like, Harold's betrayal caused him the most inconvenience. And it's kind of like a very self-serving type of view that he's having. Obviously, he is the bad guy, so he's going to have some self-serving viewpoints, and he's also like the ruler of the world, so he probably thinks the world works for him, especially given his devil fruit powers. So we see Loki try to attack him, and we see Emu block it again with the Omen ability. And after Loki sees that Emu tags this, Loki literally says that, exclaims on that fact, and he basically goes and Emu starts revealing what Omen is. So Omen apparently is just Emu's ability. That's what he's saying. And it basically resides in everything. So it's basically something that resides in everything, and it needs to be awakened through corruption. The corruption gives a way to signing a deal. So so corruption in the situation can be like something that the person wants, or something that I think in this situation that an object also wants, because we've seen that he can imbue Omen into like inanimate objects as well. So there is a chance that corruption can be like something that an object wants as well. Because we've seen in the world of One Piece, objects also have a soul in them. Especially like recently we've seen with the houses gain a demonic form when Emu landed. But we've seen like ships, like Mary has a Klabautermon. It has a soul to it. Things that you've spent time with always have a soul to it. It seems that that's one of the main things that One Piece focuses on. Sunny has a Klabautermon. All of these things are there. So it is great to see that it's not only just humans, it's also other things. Now, once the corruption gets into place, Emu's power then relies on a deal being made, so a covenant being made. And once you get that deal, you receive power. All right. So once you receive that power, you fall into Emu's kind of dominion. That's basically sort of verbatim what Emu says. And that's an interesting concept, because as Loki says in this chapter, that the that sounds more like a deal with the devil, because that's literally what it is. It's literally a deal with the devil. I mean, if you think about it from a writer's point of view, that's exactly what Oda's describing here, deal with the devil. And that lends credibility to the fact that I think Emu's ability is the human fruit model devil, or something along those lines, where he can actually get contracts. He can prey on the needs and wants of his subjects, and he can form contracts that bind them to him. Which is an interesting concept. Like it would make sense why he controls so much of the world because of that, and why so many people are subservient to him. Um, but he offers this deal to Loki, and Loki's like, "Hey, I don't want this. I don't like people having dominion over," which I think is the main theme of One Piece. Like free will is the main theme of One Piece, and that is kind of insane, because I think the will of D is going to have some issue with that, because I don't think Emu's ability works on some of the D clan. That's why I think they're considered to be the 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 enemy of the world government, because they are either unaffected by it or they can find ways to resist it. And I think the Davy clan might have been the strongest D clan at the time. This is just conjecture, but there's a reason why the Davy clan persistently was targeted by Emu. And I have a very strong feeling that the Davy clan was a strong one and strongest D clan, and that's why Emu targeted them. But when Loki, okay, so coming back to the chapter, when Loki does say that, hey, I don't care, I don't like others having dominion over me. What Emu says that catches my interest over here is he says that the world thrives under dominion. And in some cases, that can be true. I can see why people would think that is true. But the thing with that level of belief is, that type of belief is that as soon as you put someone in charge who controls everything, they're going to slip up. It's inevitably a human nature. There's a reason why democracies are good in general, is because there's free will. You can contest when someone is going wrong. You can contest when your leaders are wrong. All right. In a dictatorship, you can't really contest a dictator. All right. You just have to listen to them. And if the dictator is wrong and not willing to listen to them, you can't force them to listen to you. All right. That's why I believe like Emu's logic is flawed there. Yeah, I'm not saying that there can't be, the general populace might not be happy with a certain level of monarchy or dictatorship, but then the one or two people who are wronged so badly that if you see their stories, it's just horrifying. Like, and the thought that that can happen to anybody is kind of scary. So yeah, I can see why Emo would say that, but again, I fundamentally disagree with his logic. Anyway, so when Emo says this, he also does make a screaming declaration, like the world thrives under dominion, doesn't it, Joy Boy? And the way he says it, it's like he knows Joy Boy. And throughout the chapter, we have seen like hints of him knowing Joy Boy in the past, or like interacting with Joy Boy in the past. So I'm guessing they were, and the way he talks about it feels a little bit nostalgic, to the point where they used to be friends, it seems like, and something happened over there. So I would like to see a little bit more about this development, and see what went down at that point. I think most of you guys would. We then come to the end of the chapter where Emu basically gets hit by Nidhogg. Basically, Loki transforms into Nidhogg and hits Emu with a beam, and that seems to be the only thing that damages him, which is kind of insane that he had to go into the Nidhogg's farm. But over here, he does say something that is interesting, which is that he he remembers Nidhogg. He's like, I can't believe you're finally here, Nidhogg. And the way he says it, it's like it's the Nidhogg from the past that he knew. So it kind of makes sense to me that these devil fruits that are like the mythical zone types, they're looking for specific users that can use them to their full potential. And if those users are not met, they don't usually pass the full potential of the fruit to that. So in this situation, Loki is the ideal user for the Nidhogg fruit. So that's why Emu kind of remembers Nidhogg from that time. So it goes to show that the devil fruits have a heart of their own. So things like when the Gorosei literally said that the Gomu Gomu no Mi was trying to escape us, that it shows that these things have a soul that's basically just trying to look for things. And it goes to show that inanimate objects in One Piece have souls. As long as you've interacted with them or spend enough time with them, they have souls, which is a great concept to explore because it just changes the view of the dynamics of the world. Because even when Luffy uses his Devil Fruit Gear 5, the objects around the world, like his entire terrain changes. The only way his terrain could change is if he's imbuing it with the freedom to change. And that would mean that it also has a soul, which is a very interesting concept and a very good way to like expand on the ability of the devil fruits. So coming to 1182, we kind of see Emu is recovered from the attack, even though like Nidhogg was able to hit him, it wasn't strong enough to hurt him. But Emu does call Nidhogg a traitor over here. So that means that at one point of time, Nidhogg and Emu were like friends. So it goes to show that there was a disconnect between Emu and a certain faction of people that led to this. And Emu, for some reason, considers Nidhogg a traitor. I'm pretty sure Nidhogg does that for Emu as well. And we see that Ragnir was there during Emu's time. Like they were when Nidhogg, the previous probably owner of Nidhogg or the previous ability owner of Nidhogg, had Ragnir before. And Ragnir is not a squirrel eating a hammer fruit, I guess. It's a hammer that's eaten the squirrel's food, model Red Tusker, which is basically the guardian squirrel of the Yggdrasil tree according to Norse mythology, which is pretty interesting. Like, and we kind of see that the hammer knows Emu and is visibly mad at him. So I would really like to know a lot about what's going on over there because Chopper is one character that can talk to animals. And I would really like to understand what happened over there because Ragnir could be a potential huge source of information for us. Like we could get a huge info dump on just through Chopper because Ragnir ate a squirrel food. All right. It could be insane. As the fight continues with Emu and Loki, we kind of see that Lilith apparently has no clue of who Emu is, which kind of makes sense because why would Emu have ever interacted with Vegapunk? But I would have made a conjecture that the brightest mind in the world would have to know that there's someone that these five are answering up to, especially if he's kind of aware of the God Knights and the fact that they kind of operate a little bit on the same level as the Gorosei. It makes sense for someone else to be on top of them. Now we come to kind of like a main event that could be a good thing for one of the characters that I've seen being neglected for a while, right? So we come to a Sanji moment where Sanji is kind of like beat up by Killingham. He's basically trying to go and fight for Elbaf. Now, this could be a cool moment because we might see a good Sanji moment where he's actually beating up a God Knight. And we've not had good Sanji moments for a bit. We've seen that he's been able to tank Killingham even in the Omen form. that goes to show like some level of the modifications from Germa 66 still works on him. So he can take a beating from Killingham even in the Omen farm and still survive. So he definitely has a chance against this. But I hope we can see a little bit more development. And I honestly really want to see a level of Conqueror's Hockey development in Sanji, because if he's going to be the left hand of the Pirate King, he has to have some development. Because Zoro is getting Conqueror's Hockey, right? Sanji needs something along the similar lines. Something, even if it's not Conqueror's Hockey, it needs to be something like an indestructible body or something like that, so that he can compete with Zoro. He can be considered the left hand of the Pirate King. Yeah, that's basically that bit from Sanji. There's been a lot that's going on in this chapter. Too many jumps, basically. Too many jumps. So next we are going to jump to the Owl Library, where we kind of see that the books were saved. And it was saved by basically one of the most mysterious characters in Elbaf. It was Biblo the Owl that saved the books. And Saul correctly points out in the situation that Biblo is such a mysterious character that I honestly don't know. It could be that Biblo is another Ragnar level character who has been living throughout this time, and his only purpose is to save as much knowledge as possible. Which could be very interesting because I want to see what he knows. I really want to see, and we have Chopper to actually see what all these animals know. Because Ragnar could be a bundle of information, Biblo could be a bundle of information. It's just insane the amount of things that we need to find out by the end of this arc. Now we come back to Chopper and the kids. Now they're kind of safe at the moment. And we see Gerd's fingers has been healed, but they're kind of also in a dangerous situation because the fat God Knight, Summers, right? Summers. He basically got a ship. He's also an Omen farm, so he's kind of like ready to kidnap the kids again. They're back in the kidnap the kids again plan. But Zoro is also on his way, so maybe we can get something good happening over here. But Killingham says something here that kind of adds a new depth to One Piece lore and explores a group of people that we haven't explored much in terms of like their culture. And that is the Celestial Dragons. While we know a lot about how bad the Celestial Dragons are, we don't know how they culturally grew up. Like, we know some aspects of their culture, but we don't know a lot. And what Killingham says over here is that he created something that even he's scared of. So something a Celestial Dragon God Knight is scared of. And that is the deity named Zaza. So Zaza is the water deity, and they're scared of it. Makes perfect sense because the world of One Piece is drowning, right? And for people on the Red Line, the biggest fear could be just the rain drowning their island as well. So that makes perfect sense. But the way that this deity is described looks so close to the Nefertari line. I'm just wondering if Vivi's Vivi's great ancestor was part of this line or not. Like, were they the controllers of that Zaza fruit ability? Like, it's an interesting look into the Celestial Dragons from a non-negative point of view. This is a kid that grew up with these stories of Zaza raining down water on them, and it's basically a water god, something that is definitely feared by people who know the truth about the world. So I am looking forward to seeing what Zaza is going to do, and what Zaza did in the past, and the link to Vivi. So there's a lot to explore over here. that I hope like they expand upon in the future, because I would like to see some more lore dives into the Celestial Dragons culture. Not just the negative side of things, but obviously they grew up in a certain way, right? They're kind to their own kind. So it makes sense that um, they'd have a culture based around certain things that they only know. And I would like to know a little bit more about that, just to see how it's affecting the rest of the world. So yeah, that was a lot. 1182 was just so packed with so much information that it's just insane. But that's about it for me. I hope you guys are having been fun with the chapter so far. 1183, my god, that's another big thing that's been happening. I don't know how 1184 is going to end, but I hope it ends well. And I hope we don't go into a big backstory, because if we do, that's going to be taking away more time from what's happening in Elbaf. And I hate being left on cliffhangers in Elbaf. That's basically it. That's about it for me. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, consider leaving a like down below and subscribe to the channel. I've been Kurogami. I'll see you guys in the next one.